NC State's at home tonight against Louisville. Let's be honest. For NC State, they're just desperate to find a win in some way, shape, or form. Just finding a win. They have 2 wins in the ACC, which is tied for the fewest in conference. Because as we mentioned a moment ago, Miami beat Syracuse last night. So Miami improved to 2-11 in conference. Boston College and NC State are at 2-10. So if NC State just wants to even make the ACC tournament, they got to get wins in some way, shape, or form. Now, they are playing a Louisville team that can't afford to slip up. Louisville is right there in the NCAA tournament right now, but a couple bad losses easily puts them on the bubble, if not outside. So you're going to get Louisville's best shot tonight when you're NC State at home against in the Lenovo Center. But one thing, Graham, I will give NC State credit for this. Kevin Keatts has said it. I noticed it too when watching them play. The execution may not always be there, but the team fights and competes. They really do. That team easily could have just folded at, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Easily could pack it in. Part of human nature. It's an easy thing to do. Hey, you know what? It's not going our way. Let's just call it. All right, we'll show up. We'll practice. We'll go out there and play. Let's roll the ball out. But this team's still fighting their tails off and competing hard. And you have to give these dudes credit because we are hearing from other programs not that far down the road saying otherwise. And there are questions about that when there are a lot more at stake.
At least Kevin Keatts can give an immediate answer to the media when asked about the team's urgency and fight and willingness to compete.
Facts. 100% facts. So you can say that about this state team. Are they winning? No. Are they competing, though? Still putting forth a fight? Yes. Execution isn't always there. There are questions about rotation and who's in and late game execution and losing all these close games. Sure, absolutely. All warranted. Ain't for lack of effort, though. Ain't for lack of buy-in. But Kevin Keatts actually in his media availability just a couple of days ago did talk about the pressure or sense of urgency regarding the remaining few games that they have on their schedule.
Well, I don't think there's panic. We have to play the schedule that's left in front of us, and obviously, as you know, with the group, I can only, obviously prepare them for the next game, and that's obviously Louisville on Wednesday. We need to play well down the stretch, and I think our guys understand that without putting extra pressure on them. But you have to start and kind of focus on the next game, and that's the only way that we've ever done it, and it's worked out for us in the past.
Yes, it has maybe worked out for you in the past, but you got to focus on the now. And let's be honest, there are games on their schedule that are winnable. You have Boston College at home on Saturday. They're right there at the bottom of the league. We're with you. Syracuse, you got to go on the road to Syracuse. They're not special. Georgia Tech. You also play against bottom dweller Miami. You have a home game against Pitt. Pitt's kind of fallen off.
All of a sudden, that game to Chapel Hill next Wednesday against North Carolina, that could be winnable.
I mean, it definitely is. 100% is. Anytime you get a rivalry type game, like they always say, throw the records out, but nothing about North Carolina that's impressed you. In that matchup, you only lost to them by 2 because Jalen Washington had a block late in the game. The Jalen Washington game. They only lost by 2 against them earlier this season. And again, it's not like North Carolina's doing anything special, but regards to state, obviously their season's been super frustrating. You look at just this stretch of losses that they've had since they beat Notre Dame. It's 8 straight losses. They lost by 2 to UNC. They lost by 3 to Virginia Tech, by 3 to Cal, lost by 6 to SMU, lost by 10 to Duke, lost by 10 to Clemson, both ranked teams, 12 to Cal, by 1 to Stanford. That's the last 8 games. They've been in really every single game. They haven't been blown out. Carolina's been blown out. State hasn't. This season has been incredibly frustrating for NC State. Coming off all the good feels of raising a couple of banners into the rafters of the Lenovo Center at the beginning of the year, you're probably thinking, if you're NC State and head coach Kevin Keatts, hey, let's build off the momentum and at minimum get to the NCAA tournament and see what happens. That's how you generate momentum as a program. Yes, you had the big long run. It's about how you back it up. It's all about how you back it up. We have seen Kevin Keatts start to get some younger players involved, including Trey Parker, who's come on strong. He had a career high the other day in points against Stanford, was 5 of 8 from behind the arc. He was 6 of 11 overall shooting. Also had a career high in assists that game. He overall had a really good day. I know he missed a shot there at the buzzer that would have won the game, but I'm not going to put a loss and saddle it on him for a freshman who played his best game of his career. But Kevin Keatts did talk earlier this week on Monday about how Trey Parker has emerged for the offense for NC State over the past few weeks.
Excited about, how he's playing, and hopefully that he continues to play the way he did. He's done a really good job, and, he's getting better. He's working hard and putting in the work, and, obviously we need, someone to be able to, he's the one guy that can probably get his own shot and then create for others, and that's what I like.
Sometimes freshmen, we see, for example, we're seeing Trey Parker right now. Sometimes freshmen early in the year just aren't ready to handle that workload. You have to ease them and gradually build them up to what they may be able to do late in the year. It's a lot to put on a freshman earlier in the year. Hey, be one of our leading scorers. Very few can do that. Very few. Even the most highly touted recruits that might be top 10 picks in the NBA draft don't always handle that early right away in college. Very few do. It takes some time to do that. And I'm sure Kevin Keatts is probably looking at these last 6 or so games of the season and telling Trey, hey, keep working. Keep doing what you've been doing. Continue to add to your game. Continue to be aggressive. Build his confidence, because if Keatts is back next season, because there's the whole buyout thing, it's going to cost money if you want to decide to get rid of Kevin Keatts. That's a different conversation. But if Keatts is coming back, Trey Parker's a young player that you got to build around. Because you have a lot of older guys on your team that can be leaving after the season. Michael O'Connell, I think Ben Middlebrooks, remember correctly, Jaden Taylor. You have some older guys that are leaving. Breon Pass. Older guys.
Styles, Marcus Hill.
Yes. Several guys. I think Brandon Huntley Hatfield might be the same thing as well. You have a lot of guys that are going to be leaving your team after this season. I mean, that's before you even get into transfers. You got to make sure a guy like Trey Parker stays on your team. And even a young sophomore like Dennis Parker Jr. stays on your team. You have to make sure that you keep this core, or at least these young guys, engaged and still developing them. Because, again, if you're back, you want those guys back. And we've seen Kevin Keatts put together teams through the transfer portal. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he could do that and get guys for it. We saw it last year. And some of the best players that he's gotten recently. DJ Horn, DJ Burns, guys that came through the transfer portal. Ben Middlebrooks came through the transfer portal. Michael O'Connell, portal. I mean, gosh, look at the team they're playing tonight. Pat Kelsey, first-year head coach at Louisville, a Louisville program that was down in the dumps. Stunk for years. Pat Kelsey comes in, completely new roster. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating that. They literally have all new players on their roster this season. Everything about that team is different. They've gotten themselves ranked at different points in the top 25. They're projected right now to be a 7th seed in the NCAA tournament from a team that was down in the dumps and stunk. And Pat Kelsey literally turned that around in less than a year to get that back to the point of, oh, Louisville's actually like, you have to respect Louisville again. It's actually the Louisville basketball, the brand of Louisville basketball that we've known for years. The one that was Conference USA, then, gosh, they were even in the American for a little bit, in the Big East before they got to the ACC. Well, Brooke Pitino and all those teams, now they got in trouble for some different reasons, but we won't dive into that. But Louisville basketball as a brand is something that we've known.
You could argue they're one of the hottest teams in the country right now for college basketball. They come into tonight's matchup against NC State, winners of 12 in their last 13 games.
I'd say that's good.
Tall task for the Wolfpack tonight, but could set up for a golden opportunity to knock off Louisville Cards. shake up the conference standings a little bit. That's what NC State really should just play for right now, is just spoiler in the ACC.
I mean, for them, they're still trying to get into the ACC tournament. It's mathematically not out of the realm of possibility for NC State. Notre Dame only has 4 wins. Syracuse has 5. Georgia Tech 5. Virginia 5. Cal has 5. Pitt has 5. Florida State has 5. And Virginia Tech has 6. Like, there's a cluster of teams at the bottom of the ACC that are all going to be beating each other up. And heck, NC State's got to play a few of these teams. They play at Syracuse. They play Georgia Tech. They play Pitt. All teams with just a couple wins ahead of them in the conference. Again, I think tonight is going to go in the favor of Louisville. Louisville's just a better team. Louisville can't afford a loss. They had a lack of a better term, bad loss against Georgia Tech. Their only loss in that 13-game stretch you mentioned, Graham, 77-70. But that's it. Like that Louisville has to win this game. I don't think NC State gets it done tonight, but again, I love the compete.